Hey folks, Harley Neal here once again with another bearing upgrade on a Abu Garcia. We've got today's reel is a Ambassador 6600 BCX, and we're going to get right down to the work area here and have a look at this little guy. Red, my favorite color. And before we get started on this, I'd like to remind you, you can pick up one of these Boca bearing maps or maps. I guess it's a mat on their website, www.bocabearings.com. Great work mat here. It's got individual trays. It also features a ruler on it, metric ruler. It has about 4 or 5, 6 different individual little trays there, and it's nice heavy duty rubber, so get you one of those. And also on the website there, you can also pick up a set of these bearings, not bearings, but pin pliers here. These are for pushing out the pins that hold in the bearings on some models of Abu Garcia reels. And this one today happens to be one of those that's going to need the use of that. So we'll show you that here in just a little bit. This one right here, they're okay. Not one of my favorite Abus, but you can see the daggone thing hardly spins, and that's zero drag and wide open, and it just doesn't spin very well. We'll see what kind of performance upgrade we can get. We're dropping in these Boca bearings right here. These are ABEC 7. These are the orange seals, and you can pick those up on the website. A lot of these fit a lot of the Abus from the 5000s right up through the 6000s, some of them even the 7000s. This is a FR009C OSLD. So that's the particular bearing we're going to put in here today. And we'll go ahead and pull these out and lay them aside and dig right in. This one, most of the Abu Garcia rod and reels, I keep saying that, reels are very similar in design, especially when it comes to the side plates. You just loosen the 3 thumb screws right here and pop off the side plate here. It helps if you unscrew them all the way. And usually that will free up and allow you just to set the cage aside by itself here. So we'll set this cage aside. We won't need that for a few minutes here. We'll go in and we can take the spool and we can just go ahead and ease that baby right out. And here's what we'll be doing our magic today. If you can see on the end right here, might be a little bit difficult for you to see, but the bearings are mounted right against the spool right here. Let me find a pointer here. You can see there's the bearing, and it sets right on the end of the spool, and there is a small pin that goes through right here that keeps the bearing in place. On the other side, it's held in by the gear, so we can go ahead and pop this gear off on the other side, and my phone's about to die, and that's my GoPro control, so we'll see if we can get through this. Let me find my tweezers and see if we can yank this one off. Yep, you just pull the bearing out like that, set it aside, and pop in a new one. It's very simple on this side. We get the brand new ABEC 7s out here with the orange seals. The seals in these, a couple different ways to run them. You can run them dry, you can lubricate them, and depending on your application, the Boca Bearings website has a ton of useful information on it, so get on there. They weigh the pros and cons for you, and you can find all that information out on the website. I've just slid the brand new bearing in place right there on this side, and we'll just snap the gear back into place. And there's that. Okay, one side down. Now, here's where we get tricky. This is where you're going to need your pliers. This can be done other ways. I don't recommend it because you run the risk of breaking the pin off in the shaft here. These pliers have a, if you'll see the bottom of the screen there, there's a small pin built into these pliers, and there's a notch on the top of the pliers as well, and you can see that right there. And this fits right over the shaft, and you line up the pins and give that a squeeze. It's a little tricky getting them lined up because they're tiny little rascals. Let me try to go down on this, down from this side. And you push. Sometimes you get, and sometimes you don't. So we'll push on that guy just a little bit. And there we go, and let's push that bearing a good part of the way through. It didn't go all the way, so we'll help it just a little bit more. And there, now it's free. You can pull that pin out, and then sometimes those will come off that way just by tapping them a little bit, and other times you have to pick them up and take them off. So we'll take that one off. We will slide the new bearing into place, and then we'll replace the pin. Sometimes this is a little bit difficult because they're just tiny. Not one of my favorite ABU setups, but it is what it is. We'll get it in there. So you slide the pin back into the shaft there. You take your pliers and place it back again on the shaft and slightly squeeze it. And this is a little bit tricky because this pin's got to be centered like halfway across the shaft. If it doesn't, the spool itself won't go back into the body of the rail. So we'll work on that. There's a couple ways you can do this. One, being very careful here, and I almost got it there. We'll squeeze it just a little bit more. Oh, and it went through the other side, as it does sometimes. So let's get this guy in again. This one acts like it's been taken off and put back together before, because usually those pins aren't that easy to get out. They're usually pretty darn snug. This particular one seems a little loose, but let's wiggle that just a little bit. It's getting there. And it seems like last time, once it got to that point, it just went right on through. So it's trying to do that again on me here. Let me see if I can run it back through. There we go. Okay, I think that looks pretty good there. So basically, that's all there is to doing this model. A little more tedious than most ABU models, but hey, we're done here. So let's go ahead and slide this puppy back together. And on this particular model, you'll see that it goes together pretty easily. The only thing standing in your way generally on this one is it has a little thumb trigger right here. That's how you cast, and there's a little slot in the end of the housing right here. You've got to get that mated into when you put it back together, and then that, along with the pin being in the center, the pin and the bearing rest in this portion of the side plate. And if it's pushed out a little bit far in one direction or the other, it won't go in. But this one looks like it's pretty straight right now. So we'll just try to line up that side pin on the plate right there. And you got to check it before you screw everything back together and make sure that this thumb release is working. So that seems to be working now. Okay, so we've got that. Let's tighten this baby back down. And get these thumb screws back in place. Okay, then we'll snug them down just a little bit with a screwdriver. Okay, and there we go. Woo! I can tell the difference in this dude already. Before we put the new bearings in, the spool would hardly spin. It's spinning a lot more free now. I mean, as you saw before, it would just barely spin. And given the quality of the gears and things inside this BCX model, it's a 6600 BCX. It's the Walmart brand, so it has a little bit cheaper parts in it, and like the end caps here and stuff aren't quite as thick as the just the regular 5500s or 6500s, but you can see that we did a lot for this reel just by changing those just now. So call this one another success. Stop and get you some Boca bearings online, www.bocabearings.com, and here is what they come packaged in, and here's what your reel will go like after a brand new set of those in there. And this reel seems to be a whole lot better now than it was previously. All right, I'm Harley, and see you next time. Have a great day.